You all.
And then coming back to India as they are, our chess team returning home in full glory. Our chess champions have returned. We have India's historic gold medal win. India is only the third country ever to win in both the men and women's sections after the Soviet Union and China. We are the king and queens of chess, and our players returning home. We'll tell you everything that's happening right now in terms of celebrations.
Also today we give you a glimpse of what's happening in Jammu, from terror to tranquility, the village of Topa Pir's transformation story. How exactly did that happen? Building bridges and building life. This is a ground report.
Then we take you running to right here in New Delhi. Young people lacing up and hitting the pavement. BHAG is taking Delhi by storm. Get fit, get social at the same time. That's been BHAG's winning formula. We take you to a group that describes themselves as India's spiciest running community.
And also coming up, how can we not mention the lady of the hour, the movie of the hour? It is all about Kiran Rao's Laapataa Ladies, which has now got its Oscar entry. It's officially now India's entry to the Oscars. We speak with Kiran Rao to understand the excitement. Okay, so what is the single largest condition that impacts every woman in India? If not every, then at least 1 in every 5 women in India. It's PCOS. And that, remember, 1 in 5 is an outdated figure. It was last checked back in 2019. PCOS, or polycystic ovary syndrome, affects millions of women around the world. India, especially urban India, is no different. So this September, which is PCOS Awareness Month, we are getting you the basics and the remedies. PCOS is much more than just irregular periods or trouble with fertility. It can impact weight, skin, mood, but let's not mistake it that just getting above a certain age doesn't mean that you will be impacted by PCOS. The long-term implications of PCOS could be dangerous. Also, there are different kinds of PCOS really out there. But you should know that PCOS is a lifestyle disorder and thus can be reversed, can be fixed. It's all about natural solutions and lifestyle changes that can make a difference.
Right, so from what we eat to how you manage your stress and your sleep, today TBC is going to be bringing you the practical tips that can help you improve the symptoms that you're dealing with. It can be very confusing, it can even be overwhelming, but the key to remember is that small changes in this case can have a huge impact. And the key here is that everybody's body is different. So obviously what's going to work for one person might not work for others. That's why we're very excited to bring on experts today to give you tailor-made advice. Whether you're battling from constant sugar cravings, you're dealing with skin issues like acne or eczema, or you're just trying to get your energy back. We've hopefully got all the tips for you right here on the show. As we said earlier, we've brought in experts. First, we'll be talking to one of the very best in the field. This is Dr. Rishma Dhillonpai, a top gynecologist. She's going to help us understand what's really going on inside the body when you have PCOS. She's also going to help us hopefully identify the type, what you're dealing with, and what can be causing those frustrating symptoms. So let's just go over to her. Doctor, thank you for joining us this morning, bright and early on the show. Doctor, tell us, before we go ahead, first, just give our audiences a definition to work with. What is PCOS?
So essentially, it is one of the commonest endocrine or hormonal disorders in young women. It can have many different presentations. The girl who comes to me may have some or all of the symptoms or problems associated with the condition. It's a pretty common condition, and there are many factors behind it. We don't really know why it happens to a particular girl. Very often it could be genetic, some element of genetic. Very often it is also environmental. It is lifestyle. If the girl has an unhealthy lifestyle, weight gain, not having a healthy diet, not exercising, not sleeping well, environmental pollutants, all kinds of issues put together will actually aggravate or worsen a pre-existing polycystic ovarian syndrome. So PCOS essentially is something which is there within you. It's the sort of setting of hormones that you have. And the ovaries in these patients, not all, but many of these girls will have what we call polycystic ovarian morphology, which means the ovaries are usually larger, bigger volume, and they have this multiple tiny cysts all along the outside, like a necklace surrounding the ovary. So these cysts, if you will, they actually produce hormone. They have a lot more male hormone, and which is why the balance between the male and female hormone is changed. A lot more of male hormone in almost the entire group of girls suffering from PCOS. So because the male hormone is more, very often they have more of acne, oily skin, facial hair, very, very common in these girls, more body hair, facial hair. That is because of the male hormone. Also, a common factor in many of these young women is insulin insensitivity. That is the basic pathology behind this problem.
Right. So a lot of things like acne, facial hair and the rest of it are just signs on what's happening to your body. That's not actually the problem, which is what people sort of don't understand it. But Dr. Bai, help us understand this better. At what age can girls begin to start seeing signs of PCOS? And at what time should you say that, listen, now it's become serious, let me go see a gynec?
So very often we have girls, for example, 13, 14, coming to us with very irregular periods. Because, periods start, for example, by the age of 11, 10 or 11. And by 12, 13, they're not getting regular periods. The parents bring the girls. But it's too early to diagnose PCOS at that time. So we should say that after you start the menstruation, at least 2 years, wait for the periods to regularize. Then, if it's still irregular, then you can start looking at the diagnosis of some hormonal problem like a PCOS. Very often young girls have anyway what we call multicystic ovaries. They have many cysts in the ovaries. It may not be a full-blown PCOS, but because the girls are just growing, they're developing, it could be multicystic, and that may improve or resolve on its own. So don't rush into the diagnosis of PCOS in very, very young girls. At least wait for a few years of menstruation and then investigate for PCOS.
Dr. Pai, are the manifestations that we're talking about right now, are they completely reversible?
So I often tell the patients that I cannot cure PCOS, but we can manage it very, very efficiently. So much so that you may not even know or remember that you are suffering from PCOS. So it is a very well controlled condition. But if you say that, I have ceased to have PCOS, I don't have PCOS anymore in my body, may be difficult because your ovaries look a certain way. It's like if I have a particular facial feature, I can't change that. Similarly, if your ovaries look a particular way, you cannot really take away that look or the volume or the number of cysts in the ovaries. But you can improve almost all the symptoms. So if I can make her skin good, if I can take the acne away, if I can improve the facial hair, reduce them completely, if the periods become regular, if her weight is normal range, if she becomes pregnant when she wants to, then what is the problem? There is no problem, right? So I think we can manage PCOS very well, even though you may not say that you can take away or completely cure the disease.
That's interesting. So it might not be completely reversible, but there are ways of managing it. That means there are ways in which you can sort of put your hormones in check and manage that. So give us some natural remedies, natural ways in which one can keep our hormones in that perfect symphony.
Yeah, so let's say the most important thing and the number one recommendation for PCOS is lifestyle modification. So if the person decides that I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to exercise regularly. If she's overweight, which many of the PCOS girls are, then if they lose even 5 to 10% of their body weight, there will be a huge change in the symptoms of PCOS. So if they can have a good lifestyle, part of the problem is already solved. The other part of the problem we can easily solve with medication. So there are medications, obviously, and nothing risky or dangerous. Very comfortably, we can reduce their acne, their facial hair, we can get the periods regular. And if they're trying to conceive as they're a little older, we can help them to conceive as well with some medication. Sometimes it's just oral tablets. So it's not such a big deal. The problem is that, it is an ongoing thing. It's not like if I treat them or give them medication today, they are sorted for the rest of their life. There are issues at every stage of life. So like I said, a young girl typically will come with irregular periods, facial hair, acne, things like that. Not all of them are overweight. 50% of PCOS girls have weight issues. The other 50% are actually thin, what we call lean PCOS. Those girls have a lot of male hormone problems. So they'll have more of the male hormone features like facial hair, etc., body hair, and maybe not have insulin insensitivity or diabetes. So once these young girls grow up, then in the reproductive age group, they come with the problem of difficulty in conceiving and, of course, irregular periods. Once that phase is over, then these girls are very, very prone to diabetes.
So, doctor, what would be your tips if one were to come to you and ask you, how does one actually maintain a harmony of the hormones inside their body?
So we very often talk about harmony of hormones, but it's not as simple as that, because how, other than the lifestyle change, which the patient really has to do for the rest of her life. And I think this is one of the reasons why PCOS has really, increased massively, because the lifestyle has changed. A lot of junk food, a lot of irregular hours, sleeping late, getting up late, not having that much of fitness goals. And so that has caused a major increase in PCOS, which we see now. But I feel if we manage that lifestyle and we regularly see our doctor and we follow instructions, sometimes it's medication, sometimes it's something else. See, there are many different, you cannot start a 15-year-old girl on a medication and put her on that medication for the rest of her life, because PCOS is a lifelong condition. So you can't do that, which is why at every different phase, you need a little different help and support. So the lifestyle modification continues throughout your life. But as a young girl, I may give you something for your skin and your hair and period regularization. Then when she comes for pregnancy, we'll give her maybe a ovulation-inducing drug. Very simple, maybe just 4-5 days in a month, she takes it and she may become pregnant. So that phase is different. As she gets older, we'll make sure her periods are regular. We make sure the lining of the uterus is not becoming very thick. Check for cancer of the uterus, make sure all that is not happening. Always regularly check the sugar levels for diabetes, because like I told you, the basic problem is insulin insensitivity, which is also the basic problem with diabetes. So these patients are typically pre-diabetic, especially if they are obese. And so take care that she doesn't go into getting full-blown diabetes.
Yeah, and the same problem with thyroid as well, right? I mean, it's a circle. One impacts the other, and one has to sort of, start there. Very good points there, Dr. Pai. But can I just also understand from you, what according to you is the biggest misconception about PCOS? A lot of myths have been busted, but it continues to be a disease that so many are impacted by, and perhaps not all understand the extent to.
So one is that it can be cured. It can't be cured. Second is that every girl with PCOS is obese, overweight. And if you're not obese and overweight, then you don't have PCOS, which is again wrong. Like I said, 50% of PCOS girls are slim because they don't have insulin insensitivity, because we have different phenotypes, different types of PCOS. And you may fall into the category which has no insulin problems and no diabetes risk very much, and you have only the male hormone. So these are the issues. And the other thing is that, you take medication for a period of time and you'll be cured of PCOS. That is really not happening. It's a lifelong care that you have to take, lifelong healthy lifestyle that you have to maintain, exercise, diet as a way of life, and regular follow-ups with your doctor to make sure that none of the long-term problems that can happen are actually happening to you.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it there for the moment. Dr. Pai, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your perspective and so many eye-opening things about PCOS. But let's bring in Tanisha Baba now. She's an award-winning certified nutrition coach and she's a gut and hormone health specialist, founder of TAN 365. Good morning, Tanisha. Lovely to have you. You just heard Dr. Pai lay down so many different forms, so many different ways in which it impacts life of women. And the major takeaway for us is that it sort of comes up in different ways at different life stages of a girl. But before everybody gets overwhelmed with now that I have to live with PCOS for life, are there some changes that you want to recommend which will help us keep it in check?
Certainly. So, like the doctor as well said before, PCOS has to be managed once you get the diagnosis, and it's very easy to put it into remission. So your symptoms can very easily be managed should you choose to. And with respect to PCOS clients that I have, I follow an approach which is known as a low glycemic diet and another approach which is an anti-inflammatory diet. So I'll break it down for you. The low glycemic diet is essentially done for those people who have the insulin resistant kind of PCOS, which is at the backbone of most PCOS cases today. So in that case, we try and reduce the carbohydrate intake, basically reduce the refined grains from the diet. And we focus on fats, fiber, and protein. So your healthy fats being avocado, coconut oil, ghee, butter, and coconut cream, for instance, nuts and seeds. Your protein, non-vegetarian and vegetarian sources, fiber from fruits and veggies. And the switch that we make here is from refined grains to complex carbs. So we go into quinoa, millets, bajra, amaranth because they have a better blood glucose control. Right? So that is the low glycemic diet. And the second one is an anti-inflammatory protocol because inflammation is also at the heart of PCOS, which cannot be discounted. You are inflamed, that's why you have this disorder. So to reduce inflammation, it's very important to firstly cut out the sources of inflammation, right? So the few sources are processed food, sugar, alcohol, caffeine, refined grains like all-purpose flour. So those have to come down and only then will you see a reduction in inflammation. And what you must add is, like I mentioned, the healthy fats, very important because healthy fats help your good gut microbe thrive and also help your hormonal health. Your hormones are fat soluble and lots of women actually, Indian conventional diets don't have too many fats and proteins. So I make people add that into their diet. Secondly is fiber like veggies and fruits. Because the more fiber you have, the better detoxification of estrogen you're going to have, and that's going to help you with your hormonal balances directly. And thirdly is nuts and seeds, very important for PCOS and any other hormonal imbalance, in fact, because they have a lot of minerals, vitamins, and they are sources of protein and fats too. And lastly, if you're non-vegetarian, it's super important to have cage-free grass-fed poultry and not the ones which are commercially raised because it can disrupt your omega-6 to omega-3 ratios. So these are some things to keep in mind when you're trying to follow an anti-inflammatory protocol or with respect to nutrition.
Tanisha, can you tell us when there are aggravating factors taking place in your life? So by that I mean, for example, if you're not being able to get the amount of sleep that you should get, or your life is very stressful, because the doctor we just spoke to right now said those factors matter. What can we do with nutrition that can possibly affect those other factors? If we can't control, for example, the amount of sleep we're getting or the stress we have in our lives, how much can nutrition play a role in those cases?
See, nutrition is, 80% of the game, right? If you know you're not sleeping well, you don't have time to work out, and if you leave the, your alcohol, caffeine, bring down your sugar and processed food, and you swap it with all the items I previously mentioned, it could help you to a large extent. I'm not saying that sleep and working out is not important. It's only for those women or who do not have the time to. But having said that, if you do what I just said before, that will assist you anyway. And if you do have the time, sleep and exercise and stress management is extremely important when it comes to PCOS, because there are different types of PCOS. And if you have the adrenal fatigue PCOS, you really need to manage your stress well. And that stress management there is very, very important. And sometimes I've seen women even reduce the workload because it really depends on your priorities and if you want to heal this at a deeper level.
Okay.
Right. So, Tanisha, then, at a time when so much is being spoken about glycemic index, can you shed some light for our viewers on what exactly does that mean, especially for women? And also so much that I've been reading of late on it's not just about what you're eating, but the order of the food you eat that impacts your glycemic index.
Yes. So, firstly, before I come to glycemic index, why should you have a diet which is low in glycemic index? Is because you always want to manage your blood sugar levels. Anything we eat causes our blood sugar to go up, and we do not want the blood sugar to stay in our bloodstream for long. So, hence, you want to eat foods which do not spike your blood sugar in the first place, right? So, for that, I just mentioned you should have more fats, protein, and fiber. So that's the important one. But food sequencing, like you just mentioned, is extremely important to reduce the spike from your food. For example, fiber first. So always start with a bowl of vegetables. Then comes your fats. So if you have avocado or coconut on the side, and your grains last. If you have the food in the opposite order, grains first, you will spike your sugar. So that is a lifestyle change one can make to do food sequencing.
Tanisha, thank you. It's so important to ground this for us, because especially what Sonal and you were talking about a little earlier, the order that we eat. There's been so much content around that these days online, but to understand, okay, this is how to actually do it, implement it in your lives. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'd also like to give a big thank you to Dr. Pai, who joined us a little earlier. Okay, let's move on now from this to something entirely different. Let's shift our focus to developments that were taking place just a few hours ago. Kicking off the morning with a royal welcome, some of India's chess champions have already returned home, and remember, they're returning with a historic haul of gold. The Indian men and women's teams have made the country proud. They've clinched their maiden gold medals at the 45th Chess Olympiad in Budapest. All of that took place over the weekend. The visuals we're showing you right now, some of the prodigies who've already begun returning home. 18-year-old D. Gokesh, Pragnananda, Vaishali, Ramesh Babu, they've all returned home as we speak. We're just showing you those visuals on your screen. Remember, we talked about the boys' performance. So both the boys and girls' performances, both of them have made a mark. The boys' performance, remember, losing just one game out of 44, outsmarting powerhouses globally. We've kept a focus on all of that. Look at those visuals on your screen right now.
And isn't this such a lovely time for India in sports? The Olympics first, then the Paralympics, and even chess. We are just acing it in all forums. And I loved, if you go to G. Gokesh's, Instagram, and we had him on the show a couple of days ago. He goes in like Rohit Sharma style, holds the cup, and they're really bringing back all those lovely memories as well. So the team actually received a hero's welcome here from the champions themselves as they shared their strategies, triumphs, and the secret behind their success. Enjoy.
Yeah, so we have just won Chess Olympiad, gold in both open and women's section. This is a very historical achievement, and there are not many teams which have won both at the same time, and we are winning for the first time gold in Chess Olympiad, and we managed to do it at the same time, and it's a very proud moment for all of us.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be part of the winning team in the Indian gold medal team in the Olympiad, which was held at Hungary. Both the teams have secured gold medal. It's like a historic moment. I'm very happy that the teammates also delivered it when needed, and it's an historical moment. Yeah.
India has won a gold medal in the Olympiad for the first time ever in both open and women. In the offline version, we have won in the online Olympiad before in 2020. But this is a historic achievement for the first time in offline Olympiad, which has a rich tradition going over 90 years, like the Olympics itself. Spectacular performances by all individual players as well.
And it's a morning that promises to be thrilling as checkmate. You just heard them coming back and talking to the media as they land in India. But let's also sort of take you inside the thrilling story of India's double gold triumph at the 45th Chess Olympiad. What led to it? What sparked this sort of golden revolution? Who are the men and women behind it? And how will it change the game forever? Here's a report.
Capping off what is already being called the greatest year for Indian chess yet, this weekend Indian chess players achieved something truly historic, securing double gold medals at the 45th Chess Olympiad in Budapest. In the men's section, the team led by young prodigies like Gukesh, Pragnananda and Arjun, along with Vidit Gujrati and Pri Harikrishna, went on a near-perfect run. Out of 44 games, they won 27, drew 16 and lost just once. A show of immense power and depth. Gukesh at just 18 has become the symbol of India's chess dominance, defeating world-class opponents with a steely, focused air, while Arjun at 21 earned an incredible 10 wins from 11 games, making him a force to reckon with. Meanwhile, the Indian women's team triumphed despite a few setbacks, edging out Kazakhstan to clinch the top prize. The team comprising Harika Dronavalli, R. Vaishali, Divya Deshmukh, Vantika Agarwal and Tanya Sachdev showed huge resilience, with Divya and Vantika in particular both securing individual goals in their respective boards. This golden double didn't happen by chance. Much of India's success can be linked back to Vishwanathan Anand, who through his Westbridge Anand Chess Academy has mentored many of these young stars, guiding them from talented juniors to world-class competitors over the years. Still, even Vishy remarks that the rise of players like Gukesh and Pragnananda has surpassed even his expectations. For Indian chess, many are comparing this moment to the cricket revolution of 1983. Just as that victory refined Indian cricket, this double gold in chess could transform the game further in the country, especially because it's a win for our young men and women. As the world watches, Sunday will forever be remembered as the moment India stamped its authority as a global superpower on the world chess stage. Bharat is reigning supreme on the 64 squares. All we have got to say, checkmate.
I don't think enough people have realized that Pragnananda and Vaishali are brother and sister. So we've actually got siblings there who are winners and one very proud parent. We're going to head into a very quick break. On the other side of the break,
I don't know what the parents are feeding these kids, yeah.
Something very special. All right, let's move on though into a quick break. On the other side of the break, we're going to be taking you to the global stage. Kiran Rao talking about Laapataa Ladies entering into the Oscars. Big developments taking place yesterday. Obviously, this is a film for every woman, but this mixture that we're talking about, we'll show you in just a little while.
At L'Oréal Group,
संघर्ष है, तनाव है, तो दूसरी तरफ कई देशों में डेमोक्रेसी का जश्न चल रहा है। आज जब भारत ग्लोबल प्लेटफॉर्म पर कुछ कहता है तो दुनिया सुनती है। Initiative on critical and emerging technology, ISET इंक्लूसिव इनोवेशन के लिए हमारे साझा कमिटमेंट का प्रतीक है। आप में से कई साथियों से मैं पहले भी मिला हूं। भारत आपकी ग्रोथ स्टोरी से फैमिलियर है और हम उस पर ट्रस्ट भी करते हैं। आज का भारत एम्बिशियस सपने देखता है और उन्हें पूरा करने का भरसक प्रयास भी करता है। आज भारत विश्व की 5वीं सबसे बड़ी इकोनॉमी है, विश्व की सबसे तेजी से ग्रो करने वाली इकोनॉमी है और मैं पक्का मानता हूं कि मेरा ये जो तीसरा कार्यकाल है उसमें हम 3rd लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी का हमारा जो गोल है उसको हम अचीव कर लेंगे।
My colleague Siddhant is with us on the broadcast. Siddhant, this is day 2 of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. We are, of course, waiting for him to address the UNGA, which is called the Summit of the Future. First of all, what can be expected will be his line there as far as the Prime Minister is concerned? Is it going to be taking a cue from what was discussed at the Quad Summit of all the 4 world leaders?
Well, Greha, as far as Summit of the Future address of Prime Minister Modi is concerned, it's going to be very, very significant. In fact, we could see Prime Minister touching upon his visits to Russia and Ukraine. We could also expect Prime Minister Modi to give message of peace from that dais. And in fact, the sources have also confirmed to me that there is going to be something big on Russia-Ukraine conflict. Prime Minister would not only touch upon the conflict, but he could possibly give some kind of a solution also to the world, how peace can be restored in Europe. And the second focus of Prime Minister Modi is going to be the concerns of the countries from the global South Korea, because India just organized Global South Summit in the month of August. In that, Prime Minister heard the concerns, the problems of the countries from the Global South, and India is projecting itself right now as a strong voice of Global South. So we could expect Prime Minister Modi to perhaps tell the world what countries from Global South are going through, how the wars have impacted these countries, and how important it is to restore peace so that the economy can boom. These countries should not be left out because right now, Griha, these countries are at a risk of being left out from the global growth momentum. So that would perhaps also be the Prime Minister's talking point in the address. So all eyes are going to be on that key address of Prime Minister Modi at Summit of the Future.
Right, and he's also just been part of that Tech CEOs roundtable. He has underlined about India's own growth story, India's technological prowess. He talks about how very soon India is going to be touching upon the 6G technology. About all of that, Siddhant, considering many of those CEOs were important faces, and that too Indo-American faces.
Well, absolutely. So it was a very important CEO roundtable which Prime Minister chaired. In fact, CEOs from 15 top IT and tech companies of United States participated in the roundtable. Prime Minister's message was, come and invest in India. Be a part of India's growth story. That was Prime Minister's message to all the CEOs. In fact,
Welcome back to the Breakfast Club. Our next story takes you to the remote village of Topa Pir, hidden in the towering hills of Poonch in Jammu. You may remember the village hit headlines last year after reports of civilian deaths in custody, with the army deciding in January to adopt it under a new initiative.
Paved roads, better healthcare, education, and now a brighter future, it seems like, is developing in the area. Let's take a look at the heart of Topa Pir, where the winds of change are believed to be blowing. This is Akash.
Life is transforming for the 61 families in Topa Pir village, where what was once a luxury is now part of daily life. Higher education, once a distant dream, is now attainable, with local children preparing for the state services. The community is receiving essential support in health, education and livelihoods, enhancing their overall lifestyle, all thanks to the efforts of the Indian Army.
हमारा गांव बहुत दूर था और फार फ्लंग एरिया था, पिछड़ा हुआ था, रोड कनेक्टिविटी नहीं थी, लेकिन जब से इंडियन आर्मी ने इसको अडॉप्ट किया है, यहाँ पर आप देख के आए हैं, रोड पे चल के आए हैं, ये रोड बन रही है, अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन है। और उसके अलावा और भी इंडियन आर्मी यहाँ पर काम कर रही है, अच्छा काम कर रही है। जैसे कि यहाँ डिस्पेंसरी ने आप देखा है, आप डिस्पेंसरी वो उसको डेवलप किया है, उसके अंदर मेडिसिन है, बेड्स हैं। स्कूल में देखा आपने कि स्कूल में रंग्स वगैरह किए हैं। इसके अलावा सोलर लाइट्स इंडियन आर्मी ने दी हैं और कुछ पाइपलाइन काम हैं जो आर्मी ने करने हैं। एक कम्युनिटी हॉल है और 3 बाथरूम हैं जो अभी बनने हैं।
The Indian Army adopted Topa Pir in January following a nearby terrorist incident. To enhance community outreach and ensure safety, their first priority was improving road connectivity. This was quickly followed by upgrades to the local primary school, and soon after, the dispensary was enhanced with additional support for its staff.
Topa Pir village has undergone a massive transformation in the last few months, shedding its former image of a remote village with no proper connectivity and facility. I am standing in one dispensary that has been renovated and revamped in the last few months. Indian Army has basically adopted the particular village, and after that we are seeing the road connectivity and water pipeline and other basic facilities. As of now, I am showing you the visuals of the basic medicines that have been provided by the state administration. Earlier, whenever there used to be a medical emergency, the people of this particular village used to take the patient down to the area of Bafliaz or Surankot for the treatment.
यहाँ जो है हमारे पास पहले छोटा सा सब सेंटर था जिसमें इतना मतलब फैसिलिटी हमारे पास नहीं थी, बेड नहीं थे। जैसा कि हमारे पास प्लास्टिक चेयर्स थी, अच्छी चेयर्स जो है आर्मी की मतलब सुविधा से हमें अच्छी मतलब प्रोवाइडिंग उन्होंने की। चेयर मिली है, टेबल अलमीरा मिला है, जैसे कि ICU बेड मिला है।
The Army is now planning to build a community hall that will also offer entertainment services. Initiatives for permanent water pipelines, digital literacy and increased employment opportunities are also on the agenda.
इंडियन आर्मी की वजह से इतना हुआ कि ये जब से ये रोड आई है तो सब मतलब जब जो भी अफसर है यहाँ पे आते हैं सबको पता चल है कि ये गाँव टोपा पीर में गाँव में यहाँ पे लोग बसते हैं, ये कुछ भी है ये इंडियन आर्मी की वजह से सब मतलब बहुत चेंजिंग हो गई है सर।
जब से यहाँ पे हमारी रोड आई है तो तब से हमें गाड़ियाँ कम से कम घर तक पहुँच जाती हैं। हम बंदे को यहाँ गाड़ी में डाल के तो लेके जा सकते हैं। हमारे लिए हम सबसे पहले अपनी इंडियन आर्मी का तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करते हैं कि उन्होंने हमारे लिए इतना कुछ किया।
The mandate of the Indian Army is to protect the nation's boundaries from external threats, but through community building, they exemplify what a developed India looks like. With assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir happening after 2014, these efforts have become even more crucial.
Since Indian Army's involvement, Topa Pir village has seen substantial positive changes, from construction of new road, upgraded dispensary and new community hall. The villagers are getting all that they require. And now, while elections approach, people here in this village are expecting even better living standards. With camera person Ravi Ranjan, this is Akash Sharma for CNN News 18.
All right, next we are lacing up our shoes and hitting the pavement with a brand new running community created by young runners for young other runners.
You've seen run clubs crop up in cities like New York, Berlin, London, and now Delhi's got its own version with BHAG. Take a look. It is 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning and we are here this bright and early to look for something called the BHAG Run Club. We're in Nehru Park and I think we can see people starting to gather for it out in the distance.
Everyone at the back, please stretch properly. Okay guys, go guys.
But what is BHAG? BHAG describes itself as India's spiciest running community. Started 3 months ago, they've seen astronomical growth as a platform that brings young people from across the NCR together for free runs every weekend. We spoke to the co-founder Kiran Rao about what he expected from today's run.
I'm hoping over 500 people today
Are going to be turning up.
Yes, definitely.
And they're all here. What are they expecting exactly? What do they know is going to happen today?
They know that they're going to run, then they're going to socialize with the people, maybe grab a coffee and, meet people, network, socialize, maybe find a wife. I don't know.
Energy is really good right now.
Energy is good. It's going to get better.
And now it's time to run. To make it easier for running newbies, one group is doing a shorter run of about 3 kilometers. As they run, BHAG members help the new runners keep up their energy and maintain their speed.
Speed 1 kilometer in 6 to 7 minutes. So what I do is I run at a pace 6.5, so people don't run quickly, they don't run slow, and they don't tire themselves out.
While they're running?
Yeah, while they're running. So I maintain a pace and they follow me so that everyone can have a well-maintained run.
But how do runners like BHAG? And how did they hear of BHAG at all as a community?
I recently visited US, okay? I'm going to bring that here. And I noticed quite a lot of clubs there, right? Running club, cycling clubs and everything. And that's when I started thinking, why do we not have something similar in India? And while I was there, I came across BHAG's social media page and I was like, I'm going to go there once I'm back in Delhi. And my sister's like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to do this. It's going to be a regular thing. Because see, in a few months, Delhi is going to be quite chilly and no one's going to run if they do not have someone to show up to. So it's a good initiative.
It's like peer pressuring into good things.
Building a community is exactly what BHAG prides itself on, which is why its founders see it as a part of a conscious effort to shift how young people across the country socialize.
When you see this generation, it's all mobile phones, it's all a very shallow culture of going to clubs. I mean, I'm not against it. I loved going there. Maybe for an hour, for half an hour, I'm vibing. But maybe there's a right amount of people who want to come on a Sunday morning, want to chill out with friends, maybe go to a cafe and support these local cafes as well, do something, have some coffee, talk about good things. Because look, if I meet you in a club and if I start talking to you, we would be talking like this. We wouldn't even...
we can talk.
We won't remember it the next day as well. So what up here is, it's like valued conversations. I talk to you. It's a like-minded, fit people.
On Instagram, BHAG is already a 30,000 strong community. Kiran Rao and Jyotiraditya want to see BHAG in every city across the country. And they say they're working around the clock to make it a reality.
Starting from 8 o'clock till like 12:30, 2 o'clock, I have classes. After that, me and him come together and we start with the content. The content is main for us because it's what helping us blow up, right? So we spend a few hours doing the content and uploading it because him and I, we're just like doing it ourselves. Then comes sponsorships. There's F&B products, we have meetings with them. Then we're launching our own clothing. Then we work on that and the day ends at about, say, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Then I go back home and sleep. It's very stressful, but that's 5 days a week and then on the weekends is this.
Still, for both of them, the effort is more than worth it.
All these people that message us, somebody's like, I got depressed because I wasn't able to qualify for some exam or something. And these people are coming, they're like, I've started to live my life again. And I'm like, no man, I'm just making you run. But these people are like, no, I didn't even know that I wanted it. And I'm so in love with it that I'm going to run a marathon, I'm going to do this. So it's just that what me and Krishpi get out of it is, we get to sleep and we get to go to our bed with a nice sleep. It's a deep, sound sleep. And once we wake up, we know that we have to work towards something better. So people will feel better. I think there's no better reward than this, seeing people that they are getting happy out of it.
Fulfillment and contentment that I have now.
Okay, let's take you now from that bright morning to something else that's been lighting us up. Laapataa Ladies has been selected as India's official entry for the Oscars 2025. The film takes viewers back to rural India in 2001. Have you managed to watch it? It's on Netflix right now. And the narrative, remember, is a heartwarming story. Two brides get exchanged during a train journey. How they find themselves in the ensuing journey that itself is filled with twists, turns, as their husbands start searching for the real bride.
You know, there's so much of content around us these days, but there are some stories that leave a mark.
Right.
This is just one of those. In fact, it's made under the banner of Amir Khan Productions and Kindling Productions. Laapataa Ladies was marked also the directorial comeback of Kiran Rao. Last, remember, she had made Dhobi Kaat. This year, a total of 29 films, including even Payal Kapadia's Cannes winning, All We Imagine as Light, much acclaimed movie, and also the Malayalam drama Attam. They were all in the running for the Oscar selection. And India was last, remember, nominated for Best International Feature. That was also an Amir Khan factor there at the Academy Awards in 2001. That was for the movie Lagan. And after that, we are hoping that we will make it big in the 97th Academy Awards that are scheduled for 2025 in Hollywood as well. The country is keeping its finger crossed. So is Kiran Rao, who spoke with TBC about what this means. Take a look.
Oh, it's a very, very pleasant surprise. Initially, I was completely in disbelief that we had been chosen, but now that it's sunk in, it's a very heady feeling, and I'm both humbled and delighted that we are India's entry for the Oscars this year. It's been a very rewarding and fun-filled journey, much like perhaps the journey of the girls in the film themselves. With unexpected twists and turns and unexpected rewards as well, at the hopefully going all the way to the end. But at least now, even just being chosen as India's entry is an award in itself for us. So it's been exceedingly rewarding and enriching for me personally as well. I absolutely believe that the world is ready for this story. Also because I think the world is ready to hear many more stories of interesting women, interesting queer people, people from diverse backgrounds that haven't been seen on screen before. So the story of two young girls from a village perhaps is not common on on an everyday basis to actually come to cinemas. So I think the world is very ready to hear the story of two such girls who haven't had the opportunities that they deserved and then end up going up, with through circumstance, finding their way to freedom and opportunity. Well, it's hard to say because I, as the filmmaker, I do love so many different parts of the film, and I feel like they tie into each other, and in isolation for a person may not be so much fun, but I absolutely love the character of Manjumai at the tea stall on the station. So any of the scenes that she actually is in would be a scene I would suggest people to watch. It is a welcome disruption, but certainly is a disruption indeed. I hadn't planned my life around this, so a lot of things will change. But like you said, it's a welcome disruption. It's a journey that I'm looking forward to. It's going to be a completely, interesting learning curve for me. I've never done this before, and while I have Amir's expertise, who was part of course, the team of Lagan, I have Geo Studios with me, Netflix, who was also the OTT partner on the film. I have a lot of very, very strong partners, so I do think that this journey is going to be both fun and hopefully successful as well. I never think like that, and I still don't think I do. I've made something brilliant. I think I really had the opportunity to be part of such a great story and make it the way that I imagined it. So for that I'm hugely grateful, and the fact that it turned out the way I wanted it to turn out in itself is, you know, a great achievement for me. I was very, very delighted when people responded the way that they did. We had a lot of test screenings, and I think that's where I finally realized that I could relax and that the film was working, because every filmmaker is filled with self-doubt and worry that the film hasn't finally communicated what it should, or isn't getting the reaction it should. And thanks to these test screenings, I realized, okay, I think we've got a pretty decent film on our hands. So yeah, I relaxed after that. And I think the first time I realized it was something that even an international audience really liked was at TIFF, when we had these standing ovations, and people were so moved, they were so emotional also after the film, and they were, you know, really seemed to resonate with the film. And that's, I think, when I realized that, okay, I think we've made a good one.
All right, next we bring you a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's start with how markets are set to open this morning. GIFT Nifty indicates a stable opening for the Indian stock markets. Stock markets in Asia also rise on stimulus measures by China. That is, US stocks edge higher on optimism about the economy. Crude oil prices hold firm amid tensions in the Middle East and the China stimulus.
And let's take a look at sectors in particular. Gold financing companies are shining thanks to elevated gold prices that improve borrowing capacity. Higher demands are also due to improved economic activity and a relative decline seen in unsecured loans. Competition was less aggressive in the past 6 months. It might not remain so for long though. Can the sector continue to retain its glitter? That's obviously the big question. You can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about the gold financing sector and various other actionable insights on the markets. It's the premier destination for all the investing views and financial insights that you're ever going to need. It's brought to you by Money Control.
All right, with that, we draw this show to a close, today's episode, but lots to talk about, how to keep your fitness in check, even run for it, and then the entire country sort of gunning to get Laapataa Ladies that Oscar. The director is also saying, do you think we'll win? Do you think we'll win? Of course, all of us are praying. Never before our chances have been so bright.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
At L'Oréal Group.
The semiconductor companies, Google CEO Sundar Pichai was also there, and the other companies which are doing business in biotechnology, semiconductors, artificial intelligence, etc., etc. So it was a very important CEO roundtable which Prime Minister chaired in New York, and after which in fact held 3 bilateral meetings also. One with the Prime Minister of Palestine, which is very important, Griha.
Yes.
And in fact Prime Minister reiterated India's principal position on Israel-Palestine issue. Prime Minister also met KP Oli, the Prime Minister of Nepal, in New York. Remember, KP Oli has not visited India yet. So with that regard, this visit is also very significant. And Prime Minister also met the Crown Prince of Kuwait, and in fact Prime Minister thanked Crown Prince of Kuwait for taking care of Indian diaspora, because Kuwait has largest Indian diaspora. Back to you.
Absolutely. Also, Siddhant, since you mentioned semiconductor, there has been a very, very crucial deal between India and US that's been inked as far as the semiconductor fabrication plants. This is going to give a lot of impetus, not just to technological development, but also towards national security. Let's first take a look at what the Prime Minister had to say about semiconductors, and then I'll come back to you, Siddhant.
सेमीकंडक्टर में हम $15 बिलियन का एडिशनल इन्वेस्टमेंट करने की दिशा में हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। दुनिया भर से भी जैसा मैंने कहा, इन्वेस्टमेंट आ रहा है और भारत का प्राइवेट सेक्टर भी इन दिनों में काफी इस मात्रा में निवेश कर रहा है। हाल ही हुए हमने एक सेमिकॉन इंडिया समिट की, आप में से कुछ साथी उसमें थे भी। भारत के पास ग्लोबल सेमीकंडक्टर इकोसिस्टम सप्लाई चेन में एक रिलायबल और क्रेडिबल पार्टनर बनने की पूरी क्षमता है। आज हमारा इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सेक्टर $150 बिलियन से ज्यादा का है। हमारा लक्ष्य इसे 2030 में $500 बिलियन तक ले जाने का है, ताकि इस सेक्टर में 6 मिलियन नई जॉब्स की हम आपूर्ति कर सकते हैं।
Received a grand welcome there from the Indian diaspora, where he emphasized that the day is near when Americans will see the Made in India chip. Now, after addressing the Indian diaspora, Prime Minister Modi also held the Tech CEOs Roundtable in New York and discussed India's vast potential and opportunities that the country can offer